In the story of Gilgamesh, how it happened is that he had all the stuff within him, the beauty, the courage, but it was used wrongly. He encountered Enkidu, he fell in love. Love baptized him, created inside him a good amount of pain, because eventually the person that you love, your real educator, eventually has to die. And then you have to go on this journey to figure out what beauty is. A beauty that can't be touched by time, by space, that people can't take away, society can't take away. It's something that now lives inside you. In Hinduism, we were told that we are enslaved to pleasures of the body. We are enslaved to our desire for power and our desire for romantic or otherwise relationships, because we are animals that have no choice but to live in society and therefore need to form relationships. And despite all the things that we do, all the sacrifices we make, the best life that you and I create for ourselves, the Hindus tell us, you realize it's not enough. You have a house, you have a wife or a husband, you have children, you have money, but for some strange reason, from time to time, you feel this emptiness within. And then you go around looking for someone who can fill the space, and this person happens to be a teacher. You find paradise down here in your teacher, you live through your teacher, and if you're lucky, you'll find your salvation that they call moksha, and your paradise has always lived inside you. They call it Atman. And once you realize who and what you are, you realize that deep within you lives God. In fact, you and God are one and the same. In Buddhism, the story is very much the same. He doesn't tell us who we really are. He tells us who we are not. You're not your body. You're not your memories. You're not your attachments. Your parents don't really make you. Society doesn't make you. Culture doesn't make you. History doesn't make you. These are all layers, all masks that you and I wear. And we assume that these masks will create comfort. But once in a while, you find that the very things that have given you comfort are the creators of suffering and pain. And so one of the ways that you'll find who and what you are without really talking about who and what we really are, the Buddha argues, you take the 8-step program. If you're a human being, you have no choice but to be addicted. To overcome addiction, it's an 8-step program. The most important, right understanding. Figure out, understand with your being, not with your just mind, with your soul if you have any, that next to every joy lives sorrow. Next to every marriage lives a divorce. Next to every love lives hatred and indifference. And as long as you can make sure that these opposing forces can live relatively harmoniously, you'll be fine. Lion and the lamb must be able to live together. Live, no, you will die. Love, no, you will be forgotten. In Taoism, we were told that society craps all over us. Don't fight society. You will not win. Be like water. Whenever life gives you difficulties, find a way around it. If you are in love and your heart is broken and he or she is not coming back, find a way around your despair. Distract yourself. And when you give yourself enough distraction, your intensity for wanting to have your boyfriend back or girlfriend back will disappear. Don't fight the emotions. Distract yourself. If you don't want to distract yourself, baptize yourself with understanding how relationships are created. Be a good surgeon. Cut it open. Look inside of it. If you enjoy the Confucian philosophy, forget the Buddha, he's no good. Forget Gilgamesh, he's no good. Forget the Hindus, they're no good. And forget the Taoists, they are no good. Love your parents. Understand the sacrifices they've made for you. Help your mom with laundry. Help your dad with washing the car. If you make money, share that with your parents, with your siblings. Be a creature of society. Live through your parents. Live through your relatives. Live through your neighbors. If you see homeless people, you can't change all of them and you can't rescue all of them, but once in a while you can get them a Subway sandwich. You find yourself in the relationships you have with people in society. Now, one of the nice things about Confucianism is that you don't need to go figuring out who and what you are. You don't need to go into the desert. You don't need to take yoga classes. Just look around you, see who needs help. There is this great story that comes from Buddhism. There is this rich guy who lives in this town in Burma. His name is Patao. If you had Thai food, they have a dish called Patao. Anyways, his name is Patao, and he has a dream. In the dream, the Buddha comes to him and says, there is no reason for you to become a monk. There is no reason for you to go out there and figure out who and what you are. You have this gift. And in the dream, he asks the Buddha, what gift do I have? And the Buddha looks at him and says, you have this laughter about you. It's very contagious. When you laugh, it makes other people laugh as well. They don't know why they're laughing, but they laugh nevertheless. Go around town, knock on doors. Should you find a person whose face contains a good amount of sadness and suffering and loneliness and alienation, laugh. And then they will laugh with you. And for those moments, they will forget all of their pain. So Judaism has its own philosophy of life, of human beings, what has happened to us, and how we can fix ourselves. God creates. For those of you who are intellectuals and you want to ask, well, why does God want to create? After all, He is perfect. I don't care for those questions. Don't be silly. God creates plants, animals, and then He creates human beings. But He doesn't create two genders. He doesn't create a man and a woman. He only creates a man at first. And He calls this man Adam. And in Hebrew, Adam means the earth, dirt, dust. And Adam lives in the Garden of Eden. You know, it's like the first 2-3 weeks of your relationship when you're in love. It's like paradise. You're not going out with a man, you're going out with a God. He doesn't shit. He doesn't put his fingers in his nose. Oh no, he never smells. He is without any contamination. Now, one of the things you need to understand about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is the following. Unlike the Epic of Gilgamesh, unlike Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Judaism has a God. And this God is all perfect. And if you're all perfect, you don't create imperfection. You create only perfection. If you have an orange tree, you only create oranges. Now, in his perfection, God creates Adam. And Adam roams around the Garden of Eden freely. But something very strange happens to Adam, i.e. earth. One day, as God is walking around, he looks at Adam. Adam does not look very happy. Adam looks sad. Adam looks lonely. Adam looks depressed. You don't have to go very much further in the Old Testament to figure out what the human condition is. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a human being without a soul? Without the ability to reflect? You and I are reduced to only 5 sensory organs. Your pleasures come from your eyes, your nose, your tongue, your ears, and your touch. That's it. You're grounded. You're attached to this place called the earth. Your pleasures are always going to come from the outside. Always. And our senses can only take so much pleasure from a thing before it gets bored, before it finds itself sad. How does God fix this? Let me put man to sleep. Because as long as your senses are functioning, you are engaged, you are active. No one can have power over you. Someone needs to walk into your life and put your senses on pause. Now, once Adam is at rest, on pause, sleep, God does something profoundly magical. He takes something from the Adam's side and turns it into Eve, a Hebrew word for life giver. That's the breath of God. That's the Spirit of God. Now what you have is Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They're having a good time. But remember, Adam corrupts Eve. Despite Eve having the Spirit of God, Eve, like Gilgamesh being 2/3 God and 1/3 human, is unable to convince Adam to change his ways. God tempts them, says, listen, you can go anywhere. You can do anything. My only request is the following. There is this tree out there, just one. You have 50 acres of land that you can walk through. That over there, just don't go there. They say, okay. For those of you in this class who at times experience glitches in your life, like you get virused up, your software shuts down, your computer won't reboot, you want something different, you don't know what. What we have in the Jewish tradition is it's this Eve that once in a while whispers, your 5 senses are not enough. Let me come to the surface. Let me be on the top. For those of you in this class who may not know, Adam had the first wife. Her name was Lilith. It means lady of the night or lady of the dark. And Adam had the tendency of always being on the top. And one day, Lilith comes home and Adam wants to be on the top. And Lilith says, no, I too am the creation of God. I want to be on the top. And they take the issue to God. And God, of course, sides with Adam. Lilith gets really, really upset, packs her bags and leaves. And Adam marries or finds himself a different companion whose name is Eve. Now, you can't find life without first going through darkness. It's impossible. You can't find wisdom without pain. As Adam and Eve are walking in the garden, having a good time, going to Pete's Coffee, drinking, partying, all of a sudden appears this serpent. You can consider serpent to be a teacher of sorts. Now, what the serpent does is it doesn't talk to Adam. Adam is stupid. Adam wants fun. Adam doesn't care about meaning. Adam doesn't care about depth. Adam doesn't care about substance. Adam does not reflect. Eve wants to, but it's under Adam, and Adam is far too powerful for Eve to come out. So all of a sudden you have the serpent coming in, and the serpent whispers into the ears of Eve, not Adam. Adam gives you a life that connects you to earth, to your body. Eve gives you a life that connects you to your soul. But for Eve to become activated, it needs a serpent. So the serpent whispers into her ears, do you know why God doesn't want you to go near that tree? Why? Because that tree has fruits. What kind of fruits? I don't know what the fruits are, but if you take a bite, if you chew and if you swallow, you will have the knowledge of good and evil inside you. And once you have the knowledge of good and evil inside you, you will be an individual, indivisible. You will be autonomous, a law unto thyself. You will have the kingdom of God within you forever. Atman will come to life. You will have the Buddha seed. In fact, you'll be the Buddha. But the Garden of Eden will give you whatever you want. You want a BA? There's school. It won't give you understanding, but it'll give you a paper that says you have your bachelor's. You can have sex, but you may not be able to touch her soul. You will make money, but you may not have meaning. You may have fun, but you may not be happy. The world is the Garden of Eden. It will give what your senses desire. But if you want your soul, you have to go to this tree. What are the consequences? Eve asks. Oh, who cares about that? Be curious. But Adam won't let me be curious. Adam keeps distracting me. And the serpent says, you're a woman. You can easily distract a man. Keep whispering into the ears of Adam. Eventually he will listen. Now remember, Eve wants to come to life. She has always wanted to come to life. The very fact that you and I are always chasing pleasures and beauty, they're a testimony that we want something to come to life within us. The only problem we face is that the things that come to life within us and baptize us with their vision of beauty, they don't last too long. In the end, they disappoint us. They pain us. Serpent is offering something extraordinary. You can have the knowledge of God within you. And you know what that means? You may not want to ever go to school because wisdom you have. You may never want to read the Bible anymore. Even if Jesus was to come down and ask you to follow him, you will not follow him. That wisdom lives inside you. And if your companion is wisdom, who are you going to marry? Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to have as friends? Wisdom will make you lonely, but you will have depth. You won't be understood, but you will know what to do with suffering. You will have no use for your body, but you don't need it to be useful. You have your soul. Now, the serpent keeps whispering into the ears of Eve, and Eve keeps whispering into the ears of Adam, and eventually Adam says, okay. But they say, we have to wait until God is not around. I don't want to get caught by God. So, when God goes to sleep, they go to this tree. They're shaking, they're frightened. Eve keeps telling Adam, get the fruit, man. Let's see what the hell this is. Eventually, he does. He takes a bite. She takes a bite. All of a sudden, God appears. And they experience something they've never experienced before. They cover themselves. They are overcome with shame. Not embarrassment, shame. You only have shame towards those whom you respect, those you have let down. Embarrassment is something you just do accidental. Shame. He told you not to go and you went. He told you not to do, but you did. If someone tells you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a boyfriend. And if you get caught having a boyfriend, you're going to turn red. You're going to sweat. Oh, this is my classmate. They were just doing geography. Oh, I didn't know people do geography holding hands. So for those of you in this class who have no shame, you have lost something profoundly important. That there is no one in your life that you respect, whom you fear. If on the other hand, I ask you, how many of you in this class smoke, and your hand goes up, you have lost something so important. If on the other hand you smoke, but your hand doesn't go up, you have some self-respect. Don't ever share your private life in this or any other class, because people will trash what is sacred to you. You should never disrespect your own history in front of those who don't care. What is the price of going against the commandments of God? Now that you have the knowledge of good and evil, right and wrong inside you, you don't care about all the other trees that live in the Garden of Eden. God has no use for you. You won't even obey Him. You are Him. So you know what He does? You're expelled. Expelled? Where? I'm going to toss you out of Garden of Eden and throw you down there. That speck of dust over there, called earth. And your life will be filled with blood and toil. Struggle, continuous. You will never find rest. You will never find comfort. Blood and toil and sweat. So for those of you in this class who may one day ask someone, how can I be happy? Take lessons from the book of Genesis. Life down here, blood, toil, suffering, struggle, no rest, no comfort. Now, all of a sudden you realize you have lost something tremendously important. In the Garden of Eden, you were surrounded by light. But when the gods created the human beings came with this particular software. It's called greed, covetousness, lust for wisdom, greed for knowledge. We are condemned, all of us are. You will do whatever you can to grow wise, to become like God. You don't read the New Testament because you love God. You read the New or the Old Testament because you want to extract the wisdom from it. You want to use that wisdom to beautify your life. You compete with God. That's the sort of animals that we are. What happens though when you and I are expelled? You know, when your parents have given you everything, room, food, laundry, love, but you still remain a piece of shit, what do? So frustrated, they look at you and say, you know what? Pack your stuff and leave. And of course, at the moment of anger, you don't really understand what you've lost. You go out there, you think that as an 18-year-old punk, you can make your life work. You realize how difficult making money is. That you go and you have this job at In or Out or Home Depot and it sucks your soul dry. And you surf couch or couch surf. You know, the stupid things that young people do. And then once in a while you sit back and you say, how could I have been so stupid? And you know what you begin to do? You begin to long. You begin to yearn. You begin to desire what your parents had given you. Comfort, stability, love. What does it mean to be expelled? To desire to go back home. What does it mean to be a human being? A creature, an animal, who's always longing, yearning, lamenting to go home. Where is home? We don't know. What does it mean to be a human being? An animal who's always homesick. Paradise is lost for us. روزها فکر من این است و همه شب سخنم که چرا فارغ از احوال دل خویشتنم. از کجا آمدم آمدنم بهر چه بود به کجا میروم آخر ننمایی وطنم. مرغ باغ ملکوتم نیم از عالم خاک تو 3 روزی قفسی ساختند از بدنم. Day and night. روزها فکر من این است و همه شب سخنم. Day and night. And in everything that I speak, I say, what sort of an animal am I? Where did I come from? What am I to do? Why is it that I forget where my home is? از کجا آمدم؟ آمدنم بهر چه بود؟ Where did I come from? Is there a benefit? Is there a value to my existence? به کجا می روم آخر ننمایی وطنم. I'm always moving, but where the hell am I going? مرغ باغ ملکوتم. I came from paradise. I have wings. 2-3 روزی قفسی ساختند از بدنم. But this bird of paradise that lives inside me is held in bondage because of Adam, because of my 5 senses, because of my body. So for those of you in this class who may walk around the lake once in a while and see 2 people holding hands, be happy for them. Because for at least 10-15 minutes or maybe 2 weeks they have found home, but they will be expelled.
How do you feel about New Earth?
I'm sorry?
How do you feel about New Earth?
New Earth? I know that Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called New Earth. It's a crappy book because he's a crappy guy. Ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Just religiously speaking, do you feel that from each conflict of genre that they have evoked New Earth?
Yeah, some hope,
Like
some despair. Sure, yeah.
Is there rejuvenation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you lived it?
No. I just like to talk about these ideas. I don't really understand most of it. But because I'm animated, it works well.
Degenerate?
Degenerate? Yeah, that's what I am. Now, since we have a couple of minutes, there is a salvation theory, by the way. We'll talk about that tomorrow, called the 10 Commandments. But let me just end our life here on earth with a story. We've talked about this very, very briefly before, and it doesn't really do it justice, but it's okay. It's about how you and I find our way back home again. And the trouble with that is it doesn't come easy. It comes with a good amount of disappointment and suffering. And I'm talking about a man in the Old Testament called Job. Again, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to like these ideas at all. But if you like literature, if you like reading, if you like poetry, if you like thinking and feeling, read perhaps one of the most beautiful books in the Old Testament, the book of Job. It's about a man like me who enjoys these ideas, can come to this class and talk about all these ideas in a relatively interesting way, I suppose. It's about a man who has a house, who has a wife, who has kids, a couple of cats, a couple of dogs. And once in a while I sit back and I say to myself, I'm really, really blessed. And I say I'm blessed because I assume that God likes me. That's why He's allowed me to have all these things, to be prosperous in some shape or form. I am Job. I am the way I am because God favors me. Not you, me. Satan goes to God, and God says, where have you been? Remember, Satan is supposed to be the fallen angel, but not here. He can go back and forth. Paradise down here, paradise down here. And God asks, where you been? Satan says, on earth. And God all of a sudden becomes very, very interested. Have you seen my favorite servant, Job? Favorite? Are you kidding? What are you, idiot? No, he's faithful. No. No one is faithful when they're in pain. Everyone rejects in pain. Everyone doubts in pain. Everyone becomes angry in pain. Everybody loses their faith in pain. If you want to know how faithful Job is, let me go and touch his life. Let me go mess it up. How do you bring wisdom out of someone? How do you bring faith out of someone? How do you remove crap out of someone's psyche? Pain. But you need to hope that they survive the pain. Because if pain turns into trauma, it's in their soul. It's not removable. They're paralyzed for life. His animals are butchered. Job doesn't say anything. If my kids die, I will be sad, but I will recover. If my wife dies, I will be sad, but I will recover. And that's the thing you need to understand. If you lose anyone who lives on the outside, and you have a history with them, when you lose them, you will grieve, but you will recover. We are resilient. We will forget. You will remake and reinvent yourself. And of course, when Satan goes up, and God is very, 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 very happy, because Job does not blaspheme. Every time Job loses something, he says God gives and God takes away. But you see, Satan is tricky. He sees things, knows things that God can't even imagine. He goes to God and says, let me go and touch him. Not his wife, not his kids. Him. Okay, as long as you don't kill him. Let him suffer long enough so he can have wisdom ooze out of him. Okay. Satan comes down. Job wakes up. He's diagnosed. Cancer. How do you justify this? You've had your faith in God. God has made you prosper. And this is the outcome. You do everything that God has asked you. So what you have is the following then. You have a religion that is ritualistic and is traditional. You go to church every Sunday. You help the homeless. You read the Bible. You sit around the table and have conversations about the Bible with your family. It's not bad. But just wait until you are touched. You will lose your faith. But you will lose the exterior features of your faith. And if you can survive it, the esoteric, the interior, the philosophia, the love of wisdom will come your way. But you have to be patient. So what you have in the book of Job is a story of human beings. You will come to class. You will sacrifice. You will write essays. You will raise your hand and ask questions. You will be respectful. You will get an A. It just won't mean anything after a while. You will raise your kids with your blood and sweat. They will eventually leave you. It matters very little what we do. What we have in the book of Job is suffering is part of life. Loss is part of life. Grief is part of life. And no one is exempt from it. But you have to be profoundly, profoundly special and unique and favored. That the pain comes to you from Satan. And you have to be extremely favored if you have the capacity to endure the pain. Be patient in the pain so that eventually you can see the wisdom that pain creates. So for those of you who want love, and for those of you who want this love to bear the fruit of wisdom, what you have is the book of Job. Don't pray for happiness. Pray for capacity to endure pain long enough so that wisdom can be revealed in it. It's only near the end of the book, after Job blasphemes, if I have sinned, show me. Why do I have cancer? My neighbor should have cancer, not me. Only when he says, why doesn't the earth open up? I want to die. Life is not worth living. When he comes to realize he has no friends, he has no faith, he has no God. In the end, God shows up in his life and says, Job, what is wrong with you human beings? You're so pathetic. You maggots. All you do is complain. Do you really think you can understand the heavens and the earth? Do you really think you can understand any goddamn thing out there? You are pathetic. You will always remain pathetic. The best thing you can do, accept. Grow up and accept life for what it is. A container of pain and moments of joy. And you know what happens at the end? Job truly becomes a man of faith. For the first time, he understands what wisdom is, what life is, what love is. He is religious, but this time he's religious from within. He doesn't do things for rewards. You have the entirety of human existence in Genesis and the book of Job. You need to look no further. You don't need to become a Buddhist or a Hindu, a Taoist or a Confucianist. You don't need to become one of those New Age traditionals. The Jews have all the answers. Not the Jews, but at least the Old Testament. Just 2 books. Tomorrow we'll talk about the 10 Commandments, and then we'll talk about Christianity and then Islam. So have a nice evening. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Have a good night.
You too.